My wife killed 2 people for an insurance payout. Then she lost her mind. We were drowning. That's the only way to describe it. I remember the date because the electric bill had been sitting unopened on the kitchen counter for 3 weeks, and I finally tore it open with shaking hands. 847.62, past due. Disconnect notice in red letters at the bottom. I sat at the kitchen table staring at it, doing the math in my head for the 100th time, even though I already knew the numbers by heart. Rent, $400. Car payment, $320. Insurance, $180. Credit card minimums, $450. Groceries, $300 minimum if we were careful. Total, $2,650. My monthly take-home from the warehouse? $2,100 on a good month. We were bleeding $550 a month, every month. And the hole just kept getting deeper. I'd been picking up extra shifts, working 12-hour days, 6 days a week. My feet ached constantly. My back was a knot of permanent tension. I'd come home, collapse on the couch, and wake up 3 hours later with the TV still playing static. But it wasn't enough. It was never enough. Amanda was still asleep when I looked at the bill. It was almost noon. She'd been sleeping later and later lately. I didn't blame her. What was there to wake up for? I made coffee, cheap instant stuff that tasted like burnt regret, and sat there running my thumb over the edge of the bill. The final notice. The second one. I remembered the first one, taped to our door by some kid in a vest who couldn't look me in the eye. Then I heard it. The soft click of a YouTube video starting up in the bedroom. Amanda was awake. I found her propped up against the headboard, phone in hand, watching some woman with perfect makeup and perfect lighting talk about passive income streams. The woman on the screen was smiling, gesturing at a whiteboard covered in nonsense arrows. And that's how I made $47,000 in my first month, she chirped. Morning, I said, leaning against the doorframe. Amanda looked up, her face brightening for a split second before settling into something more tired. Hey, babe. She muted the video. You're still home? I thought you had the early shift. Off today. I held up the bill. We need to talk. Her eyes flicked to the envelope, and I watched her whole demeanor shift. The brightness faded. Her shoulders hunched slightly. What now? Electric's about to get cut off. Again, she sighed, pushing her hair back. She'd stopped dyeing it 6 months ago. The roots were a mousy brown that she hated. How much? 800. 800? Her voice pitched higher. That's insane. We didn't even use that much. It's the late fees and the past due balance from last month. She threw her phone down on the bed. I don't get it. I don't understand how we keep falling behind. I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, because you quit your job. Because you decided to become a photographer without a single client. Because you spent $2,000 on a camera you barely use. But I didn't. I never did. I swallowed it all down like I always did. We just need to get through this month, I said instead. I picked up 3 extra shifts next week. That should cover 3 extra shifts. She sat up straighter. You're already exhausted. You look like death. Thanks. You know what I mean. You're pale. You've lost weight. You're not sleeping. I shrugged. It's temporary. It's always temporary, she muttered. She got out of bed, wrapped a robe around herself, and walked past me into the kitchen. I followed, watching her pour herself a cup of the instant coffee. She added 3 heaping spoons of sugar. Always 3. I used to find it endearing. We stood in silence for a while. I could hear the neighbor's TV through the thin walls. Some game show. Cheering. Applause. They were probably doing fine. They probably paid their bills on time. Amanda, I said carefully, I need you to consider going back to work, even part-time. Just something to take the edge off. She went rigid. The coffee cup stopped halfway to her lips. I told you. My photography is taking off. Taking off how? When was your last paid gig? She set the cup down hard. Coffee sloshed over the rim. That's not fair. You know it takes time to build a client base. You said you believed in me? I did, I do. But we can't eat belief. She stared at me. Her lower lip trembled just slightly. I hated that I'd made it tremble. Even after everything, I still hated making her sad. I'm trying, she whispered. I'm trying so hard. I know, you don't get it. You have a job you hate, and you just accept it. You go in every day, you do your shifts, you come home tired. That's not living. That's just waiting to die. I didn't have a response to that. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had given up on something. But giving up on dreams and having your electricity shut off were 2 very different things. I'm going to figure this out, she said suddenly. Her tone had shifted. It was sharper, more determined. I'm going to fix everything, Amanda. I mean it. She grabbed my hands. Hers were cold. They were always cold. Just trust me. Give me a little more time. I have a plan. What plan? She smiled. It was the smile she always got when she was about to do something impulsive, something that would make my stomach knot. Nothing illegal, she said quickly, reading my face. Just a thing, a good thing. I just need you to trust me. I should have pushed harder. I should have demanded details. Instead, I squeezed her hands back and nodded. That was my mistake. Here's the thing about Amanda that I didn't fully realize until much later. She had always been like this. The impulsivity, the grand ideas, the refusal to accept reality. I just didn't want to see it. When we first started dating, I thought it was charming. She was spontaneous, exciting. She'd surprise me with random road trips to nowhere. She'd wake me up at 2 a.m. and say, let's go to the beach, and we'd drive 3 hours just to watch the sunrise. That's the woman I fell in love with. But there were signs. About 6 months into our relationship, she came home carrying a shiny shopping bag. I bought something, she said, beaming. She pulled out a designer purse. I didn't know designers back then. I still don't, but I knew the price tag when I saw it folded up inside the bag. $2,450. Amanda, that's almost 2 weeks of rent. It's an investment. It's a classic style. It holds its value. You spent $2,000 on a bag. She got defensive. I worked hard. I deserve nice things. The lease says we need to save for first and last on the new apartment. We'll figure it out. We always figure it out. We did not figure it out. I had to borrow money from my parents to make the deposit. They didn't say anything, but I saw the disappointment in my father's eyes. Then came the crypto phase about a year later, right around when she quit her job. She discovered cryptocurrency through some Twitter thread. Suddenly, she was an expert. This is the future, she said. We can't afford not to be in on it. She invested $3,000, our savings, our actual savings. Amanda, that's everything we have. It'll double in a month. Trust me, it crashed 3 weeks later. She lost 80%. She didn't talk about it after that. Just pretended it never happened. Then there was the MLM. She joined an essential oils company. It's not a pyramid scheme, she insisted. It's a downline structure, completely different. She bought the starter kit for $500. She attended empowerment conferences that cost $200 a ticket. She harassed our friends, our family, anyone on her Instagram trying to sell them lavender oil and healing blends. People stopped calling. Her best friend, Sarah, who she'd known since college, stopped responding to texts. When I asked about it, Amanda said Sarah was jealous of her success. Sarah was an accountant. She wasn't jealous of anyone. She was just tired of being asked to buy overpriced snake oil. The overnight flight to Costa Rica happened about 3 months before the accident. Amanda woke me up at 1 a.m. shaking my shoulder. Wake up, wake up. I found flights to Costa Rica, $400 round trip. We leave in 2 days. I blinked, bleary-eyed. What? Don't you want to go to Costa Rica? We've always talked about it. Amanda, it's 1 a.m. and we can't afford Costa Rica. We can barely afford groceries. Not with that attitude. She was already scrolling on her phone. We can put it on a credit card. We'll figure out the rest later. No. Excuse me? I said no. I sat up. We can't. We literally can't. If I don't pay the car payment this month, they'll repo it. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. You're so boring. You never want to do anything. I want to not be homeless. She rolled over, turned her back to me, and didn't speak to me for 2 days. When she finally did, it was like it never happened. She had a new fixation? Something else shiny. That was Amanda. Always chasing the next thing, the next thrill, the next escape from whatever reality she couldn't accept. I thought I could handle it. I thought love was enough. It wasn't. About 2 weeks before the accident, Amanda started talking about insurance. I don't remember how it came up. Maybe she saw something on YouTube. Maybe she read an article. But suddenly it was everywhere. Every conversation circled back to it. Did you know some people write off their cars for insurance money? She said one night, scrolling through her phone while I made dinner. They total their car, and the insurance pays out the full value. Plus medical, plus emotional distress. Sounds like fraud. It's not fraud if it's an accident. An accident isn't an accident if you do it on purpose. She waved her hand dismissively. Semantics. Amanda, if you're thinking about, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just saying. People do it. I should have pushed harder. I should have said, you're scaring me, stop. But I was tired. I was so tired. I just shrugged and went back to stirring the pasta. The next day, I came home to find her watching a documentary about a woman who staged a car accident for insurance money. The woman had gotten away with it. She was living in a bigger house now. She was smiling in the interview. See? Amanda said, pointing at the screen. She's fine. That's the exception. Most people get caught. Most people are stupid. I didn't have the energy to argue. I went to bed. The fixation grew worse. Amanda started taking the car out at strange hours. Just driving around, she'd say, clearing my head. I didn't think anything of it. She'd always been restless, but she was looking for something. A specific place, a specific scenario. She started bringing it up at dinner, at breakfast. In the middle of TV shows, I read about this woman who got $100,000 from from her insurance company. Another woman got $50,000 and she barely had a scratch. You know the average payout is $40,000? I finally snapped one night. Amanda, stop. Stop talking about this. We are not crashing our car. Who said anything about crashing? You, every day. For 2 weeks, she laughed. It was hollow. I'm just interested in the psychology of it. That's all? You're obsessed? I'm resourceful. I'm going to tell you this once. If you do something to this car, I will not support it. I will not cover for you. I will call the police myself. Her face went still. I'd never seen that look before. Cold, calculating. Then it melted into a smile. Relax, babe. I'm not going to do anything. I believed her. God help me, I believed her. The day everything changed was a Wednesday. Gray sky, light drizzle. The kind of day that feels like the whole world is sighing. I'd just come home from a double shift. I was barely functional. My back was on fire. My head pounded. I stripped off my work boots, sat on the couch, and closed my eyes for what felt like 30 seconds. Then I heard the door slam. Amanda stumbled in. She was shaking. Her clothes were wet and dirty. There was a scrape on her arm, raw and bloody. Her face was pale. Not just pale, white. Like she'd seen something that shouldn't exist. Amanda, she didn't respond. She walked to the kitchen, poured herself a glass of water, and drank it so fast she choked. Amanda, what happened? Where's the car? She started crying. Not crying, sobbing. Gut-wrenching, ugly, snot-filled sobs that made my chest tighten in a way I hadn't felt since my grandmother died. Hey! I crossed to her, gripping her shoulders. Talk to me. What happened? I'm sorry, she gasped. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen. It was supposed to be simple. It was supposed to be breathe. Start from the beginning. She collapsed into a chair. Her legs gave out completely. I knelt in front of her, waiting. I took the car, she started, her voice shaking. To the grocery store. That's what I said. But I didn't. I drove to the main road. The intersection on Maple. The one with the light. The stoplight? The busy one? She nodded, tears streaming. I waited. I waited for the light to turn red. Then I accelerated. I just slammed the pedal down. I felt the blood drain from my face. Why? Why would you do that? For the money. She looked at me like it was obvious. For the insurance money. I told you. I told you we needed it. You told me you weren't going to do anything. I know. But you said we were going to lose everything. I couldn't let that happen. I had to fix it. Fix it? My voice cracked. Amanda, that's not fixing. That's fraud. That's dangerous. I wasn't supposed to hit anyone. There wasn't supposed to be anyone in the oncoming lane. She grabbed my arm so hard I felt her nails dig in. There were 2 people in the other car. A woman and her daughter. She was young, 19. I saw her face. I saw her. She broke down again. I held her. I didn't know what else to do. The airbags didn't even go off in my car. It was just impact, glass everywhere, and then silence. And then I ran. I just ran. I didn't call anyone. I left them there. Did anyone see you? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I just kept running. I didn't stop until I got here. She was shivering, hypothermic. Her lips were blue. I made her a cup of tea. I wrapped her in a blanket. I did all the things you do when you're in shock and can't think straight. But all the while, in the back of my head, a voice kept screaming, "You're sitting with a murderer." I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Amanda had finally passed out on the couch, her tear-streaked face somehow peaceful in repose. She looked like she did when we first met, young, innocent, untouched. I sat at the kitchen table with my phone in my hands, staring at the news app. Breaking. 2 dead in multi-vehicle collision at Maple and 5th. I couldn't open it. I couldn't read the details. I already knew them. The mother was 52. The daughter was 19. Both pronounced dead at the scene. The driver of the other vehicle had fled. That was Amanda. That was my wife, the woman I'd vowed to protect, to cherish, to love in sickness and in health. I didn't know what to do. I still don't know if I made the right choice. But I didn't call the police that night. I told myself it was shock. I told myself she needed medical attention first. I told myself I was just processing. The truth is I was scared. Scared of losing her. Scared of what would happen to our lives. Scared of admitting that everything we'd built was about to burn to the ground. The next morning, Amanda woke up groggy. She looked at me with hollow eyes. "Did you tell anyone?" "No. Promise me you won't." Her voice was flat, robotic. "Promise me you'll protect me. Amanda, you killed 2 people. I know." No emotion. "I know what I did, but I can't go to jail. I can't. You have to protect me. That's what husbands do." "What husbands do?" I repeated. "You want me to lie to the police, to cover up a double homicide." "It wasn't homicide. It was an accident. A terrible, awful accident. An accident you planned." She stood up, blanket falling away. Are you going to help me or not? I couldn't speak. Fine. She stormed to the bedroom and slammed the door. I heard her sobbing through the thin wood. The police knocked 3 days later. I knew they were coming. There was no way they weren't. Someone had seen Amanda at the scene. A witness, a security camera, something. 2 detectives, a man and a woman, both in plain clothes, both with faces that said they'd seen everything and weren't impressed by any of it. Mr. Harrison, we need to ask you some questions about your wife. My throat went dry. What about her? Her car was involved in a fatal accident. Witnesses saw a woman matching her description fleeing the scene. I don't know anything about that. The female detective tilted her head. Her car is registered in your name. You're the co-owner. She told me she was taking it for groceries. Is she home? I hesitated too long. They noticed. She's in the bedroom, I finally said. I couldn't stop them. I couldn't protect her anymore. I was too tired. The arrest was a nightmare. Amanda heard the knock and bolted for the bathroom. I heard the lock click. The detectives radioed for backup. Amanda! I shouted, banging on the door. Amanda, just come out. Please, don't make this worse. You told them, she screamed. You betrayed me. I didn't tell them anything. They found you. They were always going to find you. The backup arrived. 3 officers. They had to break the door down. Amanda came out swinging. She scratched one officer across the face. She bit another's arm. She kicked. She screamed. She thrashed like a wild animal. I'm being framed! She shrieked as they dragged her through the living room. This is a setup. Someone put me up to this! I stood frozen, watching the neighbors gather outside. Mrs. Jenkins from across the hall was shaking her head. Mr. Garcia was filming on his phone. Amanda was pinned to the floor in the hallway, cuffs snapping around her wrists. Her face was pressed against the carpet. She was still screaming, "It wasn't my fault! You're all part of it!" The officers lifted her, half carrying her down the stairs. I followed. I didn't know why. I just couldn't stop moving. She banged her head against the patrol car window as they shoved her inside. I saw her snot smear across the glass. I saw her eyes, wild and unfocused, searching for me. Help me! Please don't let them do this! I reached a hand toward the window. I didn't know what I was doing. One of the detectives stopped me. Sir, don't touch the vehicle. Please, I begged. Please don't hurt her. She's being taken to the station. She'll be processed. Then you'll be getting a call about bail. Bail. Right. As if we had money for that. They drove off. Amanda's screams faded into the distance. The neighbors drifted back into their apartments. The hallway was empty. I sat down on the stairs. I couldn't stand anymore. The week before the trial was a blur of phone calls and sleepless nights. Amanda was in jail. I saw her once through a glass partition, talking into a phone that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She looked smaller, paler. Her eyes had a hollow quality I'd never seen before. Did you get a lawyer? She asked. I found one. Public defender. She seems competent. She'd better be. Amanda's voice was cold. I'm not going down for this. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Amanda, I know what I did. I was there. But I didn't mean it. I stared at her. How could she say that? How could she be in jail, awaiting trial for 2 deaths, and still act like she was the victim? I'll do what I can, I said finally. But I'm not going to lie for you. Nobody asked you to lie. You literally asked me to lie. I asked you to protect me. There's a difference. I hung up the phone. The guard escorted her away. She didn't look back. The trial started on a Tuesday morning in January. It was cold. The courthouse was drafty. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Amanda was brought in wearing an orange jumpsuit, handcuffs on her wrists, shackles around her ankles. I'd never seen her look so defeated. I tried to catch her eye. I wanted to mouth something reassuring. I wanted to let her know I was still there, even after everything. She stared straight ahead. It was like I was invisible. The prosecutor was a woman named Ms. Delgado. She was sharp, dressed in an immaculate navy suit, with a voice that could cut glass. Your Honor, the defendant, Amanda Harrison, intentionally accelerated her vehicle through a red light, striking a car occupied by Elizabeth Chen, 52, and her daughter, Maya Chen, 19. Both women died on impact. Ms. Harrison fled the scene on foot and did not render aid. She did not call emergency services. She went home, changed her clothes, and attempted to conceal her involvement. The gallery gasped. Elizabeth Chen's husband was sitting 2 rows behind me. He was holding a framed photo of his wife and daughter. His hands were trembling. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't. The victims have faces now. He has a face. His grief is real. His daughter's lives were real. They had jobs. They had dreams. They had a father who was now sitting alone in a courtroom, watching the woman who killed them not even acknowledge his existence. I wanted to disappear. Amanda's lawyer, Ms. Reeves, rose. She was older, tired-looking, like she'd seen this exact case 100 times before. Your Honor, my client has a history of mental health issues. We intend to present evidence of her psychological state at the time of the accident. The prosecutor scoffed. Mental health doesn't excuse premeditated fraud. Objection, Your Honor, Ms. Reeves said. The prosecution is characterizing an accident as premeditated fraud without overruled, the judge said. Proceed. Then came Amanda's outburst. The prosecutor was walking through the evidence. The car, the tire tracks, the witness statements, the security footage from the gas station across the intersection. I watched Amanda's face as each piece of evidence was introduced. Her eyes got wider. Her breathing got faster. Her hands, cuffed together, started shaking. Ms. Harrison, the prosecutor said, can you explain why you fled the scene? Amanda stood up. This is a lie! Her voice echoed through the courtroom. It wasn't just loud. It was piercing, unnatural, like someone else was speaking through her. Ms. Harrison, please sit down, the judge said. No, I won't sit down! You're all part of it! The bailiffs moved toward her. She jerked away, pointing a shaking finger at the prosecutor. She's working with them! The voices told me! They're trying to control me! Bailiffs, restrain the defendant! You don't understand! She was screaming now. Spit flying, eyes wild. They're in my head! They're in all your heads! This is a conspiracy! The judge banged his gavel. Order, order. But Amanda was beyond order. They told me to do it. The voices! And now they're punishing me for it. Her lawyer grabbed her arm, whispering frantically. Amanda, sit down, please. You're making it worse. You're part of it, too. She spun on her own lawyer. I saw you talking to her. I saw you! The courtroom erupted. Journalists were typing furiously. The victim's family was crying. I sat frozen, watching the woman I loved turn into a stranger before my eyes. Amanda! I shouted. I don't know why. I just wanted her to hear me, to see me, to snap out of it. She turned. For one moment, her eyes met mine. There was nothing there. No recognition, no love, just empty, terrified chaos. Then she started laughing. A high, hysterical cackle that made my blood run cold. You're all going to burn, she sang. You're all going to burn and I'm going to watch. The bailiffs wrestled her down. She fought them, biting, scratching, screaming obscenities. The judge ordered a recess. Amanda was dragged out of the courtroom, still shrieking about conspiracies and voices and plots. I sat in the gallery, unable to move. The victim's father was staring at me. I couldn't read his expression. Pity? Hatred? Both, Mr. Harrison? The prosecutor appeared beside me. I think we need to talk. I nodded dumbly. I didn't have words anymore. The next few days were a blur of medical assessments and legal debates. Amanda's lawyer argued passionately that she was not responsible for her actions, that she was suffering from a severe mental breakdown. The prosecution pushed back, but it was clear to everyone in the room that Amanda was not in her right mind. Finally, the judge made his ruling. Not guilty by reason of insanity. Committed to the state psychiatric ward for treatment. Amanda's outbursts had taken their toll on everyone involved. As she was led away, she was still muttering about conspiracies and voices. I didn't know what to feel. Relief that she wasn't going to prison? Grief that she was lost to me anyway? Guilt that I couldn't save her? All of it. None of it. The first time I visited Amanda in the psychiatric ward, I felt a knot of anxiety in my stomach. I wasn't sure what to expect. Would she recognize me? Would she be lucid? I walked down the sterile white hallway, my heart pounding in my chest. The smell of antiseptic made me nauseous. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Everything felt wrong. When I finally saw her, she looked almost like her old self. She was sitting in a common room with other patients, reading a book. She looked up as I got closer, and for a moment her face lit up. Hey, she said softly. You came. Of course I came. I've missed you. We talked for a while. She asked about home, about the little things that used to matter so much to us. She laughed at my jokes, though the laughter had a hint of hysteria. For a moment I thought she could get better. I thought she could get out of there. But as the weeks passed, our visits grew more strained. The confusion she had soon turned to suspicion. One afternoon, as we sat in the visitor's room, she turned to me with a hard expression. Why didn't you lie for me? I was taken aback. What? In court? Why didn't you say it was an accident? Why didn't you say it was my brakes? Why didn't you protect me? Amanda, I couldn't lie. They had evidence. They knew everything. You could have tried. Her voice was rising. You could have at least tried. I didn't know what to say. I was in shock. You never know what to do. She slammed her hand on the table. You're useless. You've always been useless. Amanda, please, I should have never married you. You're weak. You're a coward. You stood there while they took me away and you didn't do anything. I sat in silence. What was I supposed to say? She was right. I hadn't saved her. I hadn't even tried. I come here every day, I finally said. I ride the bus for an hour just to see you. I'm doing everything I can. Doing everything you can isn't enough. The nurses were watching us. I could feel their eyes. I love you, I said. I still love you, even after everything. She stared at me. For a moment, the anger faded. Her eyes softened. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd reached her. Then it was gone. The walls went back up. Get out, she said. Just get out. I left. I kept coming back anyway. Each visit was worse than the last. The accusations grew more wild. One day she was sure I was having an affair. The next day she was convinced I was working with the prosecutor. You're part of it, aren't you? She asked one afternoon. Her voice was eerily calm. You're part of the conspiracy. Amanda, there is no conspiracy. This is real life. The voices told me. She stood up so quickly her chair toppled over. They told me you were one of them. The nurses rushed in. I was escorted out as she continued to shout, her words turning into incoherent sobs. Walking down that hallway, I felt a crushing weight of helplessness. The woman I loved was slipping further away, lost in a world of delusions and anger. And there was nothing I could do to reach her. I wondered how much longer I could keep coming back. Each visit left me more heartbroken than the last. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. The last time I saw her was on a Thursday. It was raining outside, matching my mood perfectly. She was in her room, sitting on the bed, staring at the wall. Amanda? She didn't respond. Amanda, it's me. I came to see you. She turned slowly. Her eyes, once full of life and love, were empty, distant, like looking through a fogged window. Who are you? She asked. My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. It's me. It's your husband. She frowned. I don't have a husband. Yes, you do. I'm right here. She looked at me like I was a stranger, like I meant nothing. I want you to go, she said. I don't know you. Amanda, please. Nurse! There's a stranger in my room! I backed away. Nurses rushed in. They guided me out, their faces full of practiced sympathy. I stood in the parking lot, rain soaking through my jacket, and I cried. I cried for the first time since this nightmare began. I cried for Amanda. I cried for the 2 women she'd killed. I cried for myself, for everything I'd lost, and I knew in that moment that I would never see her again. The woman I married was gone. The body was still there, the face was still the same, but the soul had disappeared into the darkness of her own mind. I tried to move on with my life. I tried to pick up the pieces, but the weight of what had happened hung over me like a dark cloud I couldn't escape. I sold our belongings piece by piece. The furniture, the TV, the little knickknacks we'd collected over the years. Each item I sold felt like leaving behind a piece of my old life. It was painful, but I knew it was necessary. With the money, I bought a car. Nothing fancy, just something to get me around. An old clunker from a junkyard. A beat-up sedan with a lot of potential. Fixing up that car became my project. I spent hours in the garage tinkering with the engine, replacing parts, slowly bringing it back to life. The work was therapeutic. It gave me something to focus on besides the memories. When I finally got the engine to roar to life, I felt a spark of pride that I hadn't felt in a long time. That car, with its scratched paint and dented doors, became a symbol of something. Survival, resilience, the ability to rebuild. Money was still tight. I couldn't afford to keep the apartment. I started looking for cheaper options and eventually found a shelter that offered temporary housing. It wasn't ideal, but it was a roof over my head. It gave me a chance to save up. Moving into the shelter was humbling. The stark shared living spaces were a far cry from the home Amanda and I had shared. But I reminded myself this was temporary. I sold off everything I didn't need. Clothes, electronics, anything that wasn't essential. Living with just the basics was surprisingly freeing. It's been months now since I last saw her. I've tried to pick up the pieces of my life, to find some sense of normalcy, but it's not easy. The memory of that day, of her wild eyes and frantic confession, haunts me. I still stop at that intersection sometimes when I'm driving. The traffic light changes exactly the way it did that afternoon. People drive through without thinking. They'll never know 2 lives ended there. Or that mine did too. I often wonder if there was something I could have done differently. Some way I could have prevented all of this. If I had pushed harder when she talked about the insurance money. If I had called the police the night she came home. If I had been a better husband, a stronger man. But in the end, I know that some things are beyond our control. You can't love someone out of mental illness. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. You can't fix a broken mind with loyalty and devotion. I carry the guilt with me every day. Not just for what Amanda did, but for what I failed to do. I should have seen the warning signs. I should have gotten her help years ago. I should have protected the people she ended up hurting, but I didn't. And now I'm left with nothing but memories and a junkyard car and a life I never expected to have. I don't know if I'll ever fully heal. Some wounds are too deep, but I'm still here. I'm still breathing. I'm still fixing things. things. Engines, lives, whatever I can. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all any of us can do. If you made it this far, thanks for reading. I don't know if writing this down helped or just made it worse. But it's out there now. Her story, my story. The whole ugly, heartbreaking mess of it. I guess that's all I wanted. For someone to know. For someone to understand that even the worst people have someone who loved them. And even the strongest love sometimes isn't enough. Take care of yourselves. And if you see someone you love slipping away, don't wait. Get them help. Don't make the same mistakes I did. I'll be okay. Eventually, I have to be.